health transformation. Good evening, everyone. This is Vidhi Beri. Welcome to Re-Engineering Your Health on day 11. Today, we are going to take on a very contentious topic: your concentration and screen time impacting, from what I've seen, a 2-month-old child to a 95-year-old. And I have seen this all in my family, my relatives, and my friends. And now, with the lockdown, with everything that we are facing, screen time is up by double in everyone's lives. So, I have mums, I have families who ask me, who tell me, who have their woes every day. What do we do? The screen is a huge part of our lives, a huge part of our children's lives, and we don't seem to be able to get rid of it. And sometimes, just in jest, I ask them, don't you think it builds concentration? Just like everyone says across culture, some people on and on about the radiation, some people on and on about the benefits, the intellect, the concentration. Haven't you seen kids, adults, everyone at the airport or in a public transport or at work just glued to that screen? What do I mean by screen? The screen behind me, the screen in front of me, the screen in my hand, the screen you are staring at. All of these are screens. And today we are here to talk about screen time on Facebook, fomonomore Live. Please follow this page and put on your alerts. Let's get on to the battlefield. And when I entered this so-called battlefield of screen time was when one day at the airport I was intrigued because I see a grandmom pull out an iPad, put it on to some sort of fun cartoon in front of her little grandson. Now guess what the age of the grandson was, and guess why she put it on. It was not because he was not eating his food. It was not because he was throwing a tantrum. She just thought it would add entertainment and it will build concentration for her grandson while eating. Eating what and at what age? Can you make a guess here? This is what piqued my interest. The child was 4 months old, and I did go and check because it did pique my interest. And the child was not on solids. If for any of you who don't know, 4-month-old children are only either breastfed or formula fed. The child was feeding on a bottle of milk while watching the iPad. And that's when I saw this association between building concentration and the iPad or any kind of screen coming in. And I started to wonder what's going on here. There's this lobby which is constantly talking about the radiation and electromagnetic waves and all of that impact resulting in cancer. So the phone was going to give you cancer. And here we're talking about an entire generation which is apparently building concentration while going on gadgets. So as I started to look into this, unfold what was going on with families, with children, of course, everyone spoke to me about using any kind of screen like their phone, like their iPad or the television to make their child eat better or eat what they wanted. Essentially, what does that look like? So I'm watching this, it's in front of me, I'm staring here, I'm a baby, 1 month old, 4-month-old, 1-year-old. Clearly you see there is no bottom line, top line, no age limit, and there's a hand that comes from the back and it feeds me whatever it wants. Do you think it works on a 5-year-old? Do you think it works on a 10-year-old? I can tell you it works on all ages. It works on a 15-year-old and it works on you. You might ask, how so? When you watch television and eat, your taste buds die. You might think you're actually enjoying a meal while watching your favorite movie, but you're actually eating a bag of chips and you're still not satiated and you reach for a dessert and a bar of chocolates, which is why most people who tell me I need to midnight snack is because they are on some sort of screen and their taste buds died, which means they have to eat and eat and eat. And the hunger arose in the first place because Now there was a dopamine rush in the brain which said, I'm feeling happy, and there's a release. So there was really no release, there was really no happiness. So I need to eat something to fulfill that need was created. I think that got a little complicated there. So let me explain what do I mean. Dopamine, like we have mentioned before, is one of those hormones which make you feel very happy. It's the same hormone you have secreted in your brain when you fall in love. It's a very dangerous path I'm going down there, but when you fall in love, you have a dopamine rush. You want to keep going back to that feeling, even if it becomes bittersweet, even if you feel sometimes in pain, sometimes self-destructive, till you reach a high point of pain and you still want to keep going back until it becomes toxic, if it becomes toxic. Unfortunately, that's what happens when we have unregulated, unaccounted for screen time. Who's going to regulate it? Your family, your children, the elders in your family, society, a research novel or a research document, or a movie star. Who's going to tell you how much to do? One day we have a research paper saying that we might get cancer. One day we have someone negating and saying this is so beneficial, look what my child got out of it. So where is the right answer for all of us? Maybe somewhere a little bit in the discussion where we said junk food, monitor, regulate, have that 5 to 10%. That is one answer. But the idea is to really explore what happens. So let's take the example of a 5-year-old child who opens the iPad and plays something like, well, I face this, so it's called Temple Run. And one of the kids was on Temple Run every single day. First it started with, oh, let's do 15 minutes. The next day it was 20 minutes. The next day it was 25. And you know what? The child was glued to it. So the grandparents said, wow, look at this child, how intelligent, how concentrated. There is no wavering of energy here. Look at this kid, he's going ahead and ahead and ahead in this game. And then the 5th day, after 40 minutes, when they tried to take the iPad away, the first was, no, I'm going to do some more of this. And then when the iPad was snatched, guess what happened? Reflex action to the grandmother. Reflex action to the grandmother. Now, grandmoms and granddads are very forgiving. Can you imagine if the child did that to the parent? What would happen immediately? Well, all of you are having visuals of what you might have done. My point precisely being that the dopamine levels go so high that you have no physical control. From one child who might be screaming or just getting angry, from the other to gritting their teeth, and to the 4th one who might just use their hands and legs. The older you get, the more internal violence that builds. This is just reaction time. But if we are staring at a screen, is there a problem in that? Because it's so useful. I'm communicating with you with that. Our children are studying remotely at home, which is a respite to moms. There's a lot of learning material, there's a lot of educational stuff, and techniques to teach our little toddlers to our older ones. A lot of research work, starting from the ABCDs to the science to whatever is complex. We have tutorials on all kinds of screens today. So what are we to do? Do we draw a line? Do we use it as a tool for concentration? And why do we need it as a tool at all? Again, coming back to all of you who watched that discussion on milk. It is just one tool, just like milk was one source of food. Every one of us is wired differently. Some of us secrete dopamine just by having a tiny piece of chocolate. Some of us need an entire slab, and some of us will be self-destructive enough to eat 2 large chocolate cakes. And that's where the key lies, in that awareness of how much do I need for my dopamine to kick in. And then comes in the self-regulation. And honestly, a lot of us have not evolved enough to just do it entirely by ourselves, just like we're not there yet to do it entirely by ourselves for our nutrition as well. We always need a little bit of a help, a support group, a buddy, a family member who helps us become accountable. Unfortunately, because I work with moms and kids, sometimes moms have to play bad cop all the time. and the daddies are on the phone, which is a common complaint, that the mother is constantly saying the child is mirroring the father's habits here. What do? Daddy wakes up in the morning, more than looking at their baby's face and kissing them good morning, it's the phone that they say good morning and hello to, and they say good night. Might as well give the good night kiss and the morning hug to the telephone, to the mobile, to the television. That's the reality of our lives today. So it brings me to one of my many couple clients where the dad said, you know what, we are having to become more aware, we are having to change, to the dismay of our parents sometimes, because in that generation there was no pressure. People encouraged men or dads in that generation to just be the bread earner. There was not much role. If you played a little, you took your child for a sport, it was enough. Now, he said to me something very interesting. He says, I log in every single night feed of my child. I logged in every time he slept and woke up, and I was responsible for the entire night. And I said, wow, that's amazing for your wife who has an amazing husband. He says, you know what? In our friend group, 90% of us are like that. So if I'm not, there's a peer pressure on me to pull myself up in my role as a dad. And that was path breaking for me. Just like the 4-month-old who had a screen in front of him. So the roles are changing. And if you are a role model in your family, I would say move the bad cop away from the mom and become husband and wife partners, both become balancing cops in the equation to manage this dopamine rush that happens, which a child really cannot fathom and assimilate. Now, this is not a lecture for you to decide whether it's bad for you or it's good for you, because screens are here to stay. They are a reality. This is how we are communicating in this new world. Social media is probably the new way to weave narratives, to keep a collective consciousness, to also fight an invisible enemy that's out there through virus and bacteria. But there is an invisible enemy within this too. And I'm going to show you visibly, tangibly, in flesh and blood today what that invisible enemy is. It's past 10 o'clock. I have a very special guest and a volunteer today who is not supposed to be up at this hour, but I'm going to show you in flesh and blood what happens. So please welcome my older son, and he is going to be here today. I hope you can all see him, and he's going to do a little display of strength. I'm going to use my phone, which is a screen and a gadget, to show you what really happens to a human body, and you can see this illustrated in a child. And trust me, he's a boy, he's a growing boy. There's no way he's going to fudge this or pretend like he's not strong enough just for this program. So this is going to be totally honest, cannot be doctored. Let's ask him to spread his hands out, very similar to the food experiment we did, by the way. So can you open your hands out? Okay, now he's going to resist my strength, and he's going to use all his power to resist my strength. And at this age, he truly wants to show you how strong he is. So tighten your hands really strong. I'm going to try to push any of your arms down. Let's see if I can. Just let's see how strong you are. Wow, can you see how strong he is? I'm trying to put both strength on both arms, and he's just like nothing's going down. Okay, relax your arms, shake it out for a minute. So you've seen his display of strength. Now, he's shaken his arms out. I'm going to give him a phone on one side, and I'm going to try to push the other hand down. Let's see what happens. So hold the phone in that arm, stretch the arm out, back. I hope we can see clearly. This is the arm that's out, and this is the arm with the phone. And we are going to strengthen it, and we're going to resist mommy with all her might. Imagine I'm trying to attack you and resist me. Can you see? Veer, use your strength. Tighten your hands really, really tight. See, he's trying to bounce back. He's like, I can't have this happening. Come on, resist me. Tired. Thank you. Too much work after 10 p.m. Thank you to my volunteer for today. We saw this with the chocolate cake, but To my child's dismay, this was not a display of his strength the minute the phone came in. What do you think happened? Because this was a lot worse than the chocolate cake on my aunt the other day. So what do you think happened here? This cell phone, forget the radiation, forget everything else. I told my son, resist me with all your strength. That's the signal I gave him. He resisted me. I told him, hold a phone in the other hand. He held the phone. And I said, now resist me with all your strength. And I kept asking him. He absolutely could not. What do you think happened there? Let's decode this a little bit. The signal from his brain is not even reaching his arm. It's not even reaching his shoulder. The signal from his brain is muddled here because the signal from the cell phone in this hand is interfering with the signals here which don't even reach up till here. Maybe they'll go somewhere till the eyes and the nose. They do not extend beyond that. So there's a voice from the phone. It's not a voice, it's electromagnetic waves interfering with your neural impulses for a basic enough instruction. Hold your hand strong, resist me. Can't. Absolutely cannot. Has absolutely got waves going in. Neurological impulses do not work. Every single day, every single hour, we have this in our hand, we have this in our pockets. What do you think happens? Basic instructions you cannot retain. We have memory issues. Some of us have premature aging, hair loss to our dismay of our vanity, loss of strength. Very, very easy culprit. You were thinking it was your nutrition. Right there, I've given you the answer. Does this mean we don't use screens? It absolutely doesn't mean that. It means do it with awareness, do it with responsibility, do it with accountability. Do this test again with everyone in your family. Of course, there will be that one person who will be super strong. Even at super strong, he may not go down. He may just go this much, but you will see that difference even with super strong. A quick note on how you can mitigate this is use an anti-radiation chip on all of your gadgets. An anti-radiation chip that's available everywhere now for your laptops, phone screens, iPads, all of it, whatever's coming in hand. Create a practice at home where you have a half an hour set time, just like you have class time, 45 minutes, 30 minutes. That this is your screen time for whatever you want to do. Enjoyment, it could be a game, it could be a movie, it could be anything that the person enjoys. But at one time, just like your brain doesn't concentrate in terms of studying for more than 35 to 40 minutes, even in a classroom, here also, it messes with your neurological signals. We are not going into the carcinogenic effects of screens, phones, iPads. We are simply going into your functionality. Just like I said, if you ate 5 parathas in the morning, full of wheat and gluten, you feel sluggish. It interferes with your signals, your energy levels. Simply, same logic. You use this on your body at all times when you're not even using it. It's purely going into the neurological sinuses and interfering with your functionality. So now you have that irritable person early in the morning because the first thing they did was get distracted. It could be anyone in the family, anyone above the age of 10, 11, 12 who has a cell phone in their hand, because the light draws you. The number of informational news, games, movies, everything draws you. And when you're drawn into that, you look like you're concentrating, but you can't even concentrate on your hunger, which is why when you are eating and you are in front of the screen, you have a fake dopamine rush that's going from the food, going from the TV, but you actually didn't register any of it properly. You didn't enjoy that properly. You didn't enjoy the food properly. And if it is a screen like this one in front of you, it gets even worse. However, some of us do watch content that is extremely engrossing. And if you have found narratives like that, I would highly encourage you to watch those. 90% of what is being watched on screen is negative news, fear mongering. There is a small percentage, but still a growing percentage of what's the number 2? mindfulness, stress management, ways to increase our spiritual well-being. So it is second, but it exists to fear. And when all of the news that's out there is more fear-mongering, you are going to be distracted by that. Even though you look like you are staring at that screen is throwing 10 different things at you. So in a sense, your mind is distracted from what's important. And the first thing that was important was the food that came into the child's mouth, the food that came into your mouth, that chip that you enjoyed. For all of those people who love their processed chips, you want to enjoy every single bite of that. But now, unfortunately, 90% of us have to watch television to enjoy that because we've lost our senses. We have association, just like the popcorn and the movie. Hands up for how many of you want to go for a movie and absolutely have to eat popcorn. Many of us, which is why the popcorn business thrives and popcorn is there everywhere, and the extra processed butter. And for all of you Americans who are watching, you know what I'm talking about when we go squeeze out all of that extra butter, which really isn't even butter, and you get that extra large size for hardly any extra cost. So all of these addictions associations have been market studied. And interestingly, little trivia for all of you, there are legal cases that are on video game companies that exist even as of today for figuring out, hear this carefully, for figuring out the neurological coding of a child's brain and at what stage the dopamine peaks beyond which a child cannot stop. So we are talking about the next level of addiction there. Be aware of these things because we are only speaking sometimes in good and bad. There's a lot of ugly and way in between that's really tampering with your brain cells there, and be aware of that. Just not very far away, just our neighboring nation does very commonly rehabs for de-addiction from screen. We don't have that in India. We have relationship counseling, we have rehabs for everything from alcohol to drugs and probably violent behavior, but we are still a little bit shielded from the screen time and the computer rehab. Why might that be so? Why is our culture unique? Even though if you go to a restaurant, a public place, anywhere, you will find people on their screen, their tabs, their mobiles. Why so? Why are we so different, and why have we not reached those addiction levels? Because primarily we are a country in India very high on our emotional quotient. Even though the pundits have said that we need a lot of counseling in cities, there's a lot of depression, all of those things. Maybe it's growing in urban cities, but we are still a very largely rural country as well, who has social connections. And for all of you out there who have experienced this, you know for a fact that anyone who is remotely working with you, working for you, belongs to any kind of semi-rural village, tier 2, tier 3 city dwelling. You have a neighbor who has a birthday party for a daughter who's 10-year-old, you will find that person strangely taking a holiday and going. Anything happens to any cousin long distant in the village, grandma, they absolutely need a leave to go. And these are not excuses. We are so connected socially as people, which is why the narrative survives. And coming back to building concentration today, we use our screen time to check out narratives that exist. That is truly why this country still has not reached those levels of needing a rehab for screen time. It may come in soon in urban centers, but I still have my hopes up there because we are not truly in a space where we are lonely within. We are still using social media and our screens in every way to connect with each other, to share narratives, to share stories, to share our day. And that's where the human connection, which is alive and it thrives. When I see little kids of 9, 10, 11 years wanting to play what's the latest addiction game, like a PUBG or a Free Fire, any of those, they're actually waiting for their friends. They're waiting for different children in different groups who they've identified to come and play with them. Maybe it's dangerous too in some ways, but the goal was the connection, to excel, to compete. I absolutely don't endorse it, but I'm getting to the crux of the Indian mindset on socialization, through social media, not primarily just entertainment and information and getting ahead, which is where some of our neighboring countries tend to use their screens for. So let's tap into this potential. And this potential is really the key to human evolution, because when you go into the historic evolution of mankind, why do we seem to have supremacy in the last tens of thousands of million years ago, from becoming a hominid to a Homo erectus standing to a Homo sapien, and now the modern humans as we are? Because if you think about it, we aren't as large as dinosaurs, we aren't as strong as elephants, we aren't as ferocious as tigers, but how come a country like the United States has more than 10,000 pet tigers? I don't know if you knew that, tigers and lions, but interesting fact there. More than the wild roaming out there, there are more than that caged as pets in America. How do we have this ability as humans? How have we been able to achieve that? Purely because humans have a special ability that no other species have. We have the ability to congregate with our brain, and our brains create stories, narratives, myths, religion, superstition, and spirituality woven all around together. And within these, we weave stories of love, trust, fear, values, and how to get over our regular daily stresses of life. So even your habits, depending on where you were born, which religion you identify with, will be governed by the stories of that native or religious culture, on how you should start your day, how you should do your prayers, how you should lead your life, how you should eat your food, how you should connect in relationships. All of this comes through a narrative. And when we are discovering narrative, we are connecting to people, then the screen has a much larger role to play, not as destructive, but reminding each one of us of this role is where the key to this balance comes. And the key to this balance is about identifying where your dopamine rush comes from, finding other constructive activities to get that, rather than pretending to see the screen because you want information. You want information, first identify it in your own brain. Ask your brain, what is it that I hope to achieve when I switch on the TV? Do I want mindless entertainment? Please go ahead. Do I need information on a particular subject, or do I want to communicate? These are the three usual questions. So information means research. It could be a business practice. Communication is about emails, social media, and any other kind of connection. And then we have entertainment. Now, entertainment is a broad spectrum out there, but you have to have checks and balances. First, ask yourself the question. The same way you asked when you were eating that food. Ask yourself, does this suit me? Do I need to eat so much? How much do I need to eat? Because the screen is offering opportunities to the little child, to the growing child, to you and me, and to the elderly, to connect, to research, to get information, and to get entertainment. When we watch a movie, we are entertained. It does make us happily as a family together. So those are things that are beautiful in our lives because of this. But that doesn't mean we are on it for 5 hours a day, because we have truly lost the magic of being together with engaging activities, which we can as creative human beings. So the first thing you're going to do is test out the arm exercise on everyone in your family. See whose arms are stronger and see how much they move, because everyone's arms will move with that phone in the other arm. The other exercise you're going to do is write down the 3 or 4 usages that you have with the screen. And one prayer I have for all of you, just like you did the affirmations yesterday, when you wake up in the morning, take 5 seconds, wait. Do not pick up that phone, the first thing, because your first hour of your day is a mirror to how the rest of your day is going to go. And if you open that phone without the intent of what it is that you hope to achieve, you are not going to achieve a whole lot, because you're going to be distracted and your whole day is going to be distracted. So right now, a lot of people who are finding a whole lot of time which they didn't earlier. They're continuing to work, be with their families, do their hobbies, do their exercise, and socialize through social media, are suddenly wondering, where did this time come from? I was commuting maybe 2 hours, but I'm doing 5 hours more. Maybe because they figured out with intent, why am I using my screen? How am I using my time? And efficiently categorizing those things. And if I start my day with distraction, I continue and end my day with distraction. So these are 2 exercises I want you to do. And the third thing is to draw your attention to one more story that started in my brain, which was about the power of the narrative myth. Humans, like I said, y'all can all Google and study this today. Humans have evolved purely due to the consequences of a woven narrative myth. Storytelling is how we evolved as a culture. I know it's simplistic. You're just like, what is she talking about? Storytelling, the power of a story that holds humans together based on the values of love, faith, and fear. That's how we evolved as humans. And if storytelling is such an important part of our evolution, it needs to be an essential part of our daily lives, whether they are mythical, horror, magic, value-driven, historical, whatever might be. This is your time as a family every day to create a story. So, my mom-in-law taught me a fun game that she played when she was younger. Simply start a story with one sentence. The other member of the family continues with another sentence. The third member joins in with another sentence, and they create their own story as a family, however fictitious, funny, ridiculous, or scary that might be. The story goes on with a sentence in that story added by every family member sitting in that circle. Have that family circle time either at a meal time or in the morning or as an evening plaything. Create stories every single day, whether they are 5-minute stories or half-an-hour stories. You will start seeing how the mind of every family member works, how beautiful family time really is, and what you create together. The power of the narrative myths that you create as a family together will be individual, unique, innovative, and purely your creative time together. And then the magic will unfold, because you will find so much more beyond that to connect as a family. So many things that you didn't know about each other. So delve in this beautiful experience, this beautiful exercise that will lead as a ripple effect in your families to enrich it in the times ahead. I hope you enjoyed today's session. It was very heartfelt with the issues that I've dealt with in the last 10 years with all of my different families and clients. Tomorrow, we are going to come back with some more family time activities and conflict resolutions at a time like this, which is very much needed in terms of our emotions, stress, communication, and our nutrition levels. See you all tomorrow evening. Have a good night.